Blog Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Ace Knight, and tonight we have a special guest host, Rose Knight. He'll be here in just a second. As a matter of fact, his coffee cup showed up 5 minutes ago, so I know he's on his way. And for those that don't know, Rose, he's read for about 14 years. He's a tarot reader over on Psychic.biz. And this is actually the first time we've worked in partnership. Oh, hi! There you are, Rose. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
I know. Your coffee got here about 5 minutes ago. It's been doing paceless around the table.
Well, it's strong enough.
I figured it would be. We've trained together, we've worked together, and we live together, so it's kind of fun. So it's great to have you on the show. And tonight we will be discussing Living Hope with Lynne Cockrum-Murphy. Now, for those that don't know that much about her, as an infant, she survived a tragic house fire that claimed her father and 2 sisters and left her with severe burns over most of her body. She lived most of her life with severe depression and an alcoholic mother. She's going to share with us, at 5 years old, her thoughts of suicide. She lived through her stepfather being crushed to death in a logging accident and her mother being murdered in a barroom brawl. After all she has been through, Lynne has radiant happiness and living life of pure service to the world. Don't you think she can teach us just a thing or two?
She is here today with us with her new book, Living Hope, Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind, an Amazon #1 bestseller, talking about how she went from hopelessness to hope. This is a woman you want at your side when you are in such a deep pain and chronic misery that you don't see the way out and can't understand why bad things keep happening to you or other good people you love.
Today, Lynne is an intuitive counselor specializing in bringing guidance to those who seek assistance with their spiritual past. In addition to facilitating physical healing, emotional growth, and removing blocks to the life of joy, meaning, and purpose, she has a doctorate in education, is a licensed substance abuse counselor, an access bar instructor, an advanced level thermal teacher, and a counselor course instructor. She teaches in Northern Amazon. Oh, I just butchered this school's name. I'm sorry. Northern Arizona University, and maintains a private practice in Phoenix, Arizona, where she lives with her husband and cat named Lucky. I'm going to bring her onto the show because she's actually joining us for our Hot Topics tonight, too, which is wonderful. Lynne, thanks for joining us tonight. Sorry we butchered a lot of your introduction, sweetie. I completely messed up University of Arizona.
Well, there you go. You corrected it. Thanks, Asen, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here with you and Rose tonight.
Yeah, I love having you on. Now, our first topic is kind of interesting because, in our psychic training we took, I don't know about some of the Access Bar and other training, it talks about sensory deprivation, this flotation tube thing that scientists are actually going to start studying. What's your thoughts on that? Have you done any training like that?
Not of that nature, but I've gotten the impression from what I've read before that it can be used beneficially or harmfully, depends on what the intention is.
It can be. It can be very harmful. I remember doing the Shockey experiment when I was working on my master's for metaphysics, and it was really weird. For those that don't know, the Shockey experiment, what it is they cover your eyes with tennis balls. They show a very bright red light in your face, and they put white noise on you. This is to eliminate the sensory stuff. Now people are starting to do this, and scientists are checking into this flotation thing in UK to see just what about the total sensory deprivation experience enhances that sense. This kind of sounds to me like the stuff the mediums got put through in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they would like fill their mouths with water, stuff their mouths with cotton, prick them, do anything to bring them out of trance. So I don't know about this. I don't know how it's going to work. I hope that they get some idea of, you know, how this either helps or just helps the body. We'll see.
Well, isn't there an aspect of it that is supposed to be peaceful and relaxing and meditative and freeing? So in that respect, it would be a good thing.
Right.
It's just that some of those techniques I've also heard of included in torture.
Yes, it was included in torture. A lot of the techniques were included in torture. And sensory deprivation is the basic concept of solitary confinement.
Right.
Just with water in with you.
Just water in with you, you know. But, you know, the Shockey experiment is said not to be, it's regulated not to be done for more than 30 minutes in most trainings. And this, you know, I think they're doing like hour and a half, and, you know, that's a little scary. I mean, I think it would be great for meditation. I think it would be great if it was used in proper ways. But I don't know.
Well, doesn't it show that you have to trust who you're working with? You know, you don't go into anything blind.
Right. And, you know, I've always said, you know, make sure to get someone that you know when working with hypnotism. Also with this, you know, it needs to be handled by someone that's I think it should be handled by somebody that's very knowledgeable of what happens in sensory deprivation, very, I almost want to say religiously expertized in it so that they can move forward with this. This was originally, you know, formed by a guy, in the 50s that developed this flotation tank, but they're starting to experiment, and I don't know. I get really weary when scientists start looking at different things that are used in the metaphysical community in two ways. It depends on how they move at experimenting with it. You know, if they go into it with, oh, this could be useful, that's good. But if they come at it like, all right, let's go prove them wrong, then they're going to do it the harsher way.
Which 9 times out of 10, I feel when scientists do that, they're looking at it as the logical aspect and not really at the aspect that they should be looking at it.
Right. So, you know, be careful because these may start popping up because, you know, it's not that hard to create these tanks, and we don't need people running out and just building them and not using them knowledgeably. Trying to make sure, you know, I've always said make sure that the people you work with has got training in what you're doing.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you wouldn't go to a hypnotist and they put you under a trance and they can't get you out of it.
Well, same thing with this. I mean,
and that would be the same thing with sensory deprivation because in a way it's a form of meditation from what I've read and what it was originally created for.
Right. And it's kind of like do you remember, I don't know, maybe you two are, I don't know how far y'all have looked at it, but do y'all remember the rebirthing stuff that went through during the 80s?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this sounds a lot like they're trying to do the rebirthing thing because of the warm water, total sensory deprivation. You can't see anything, hear anything, or feel anything. You can still breathe. It's almost like they're trying to reinvent the wound. And that kind of was okay for a little bit, and then it went a little crazy. That's when you had practitioners, people coming from practitioners and had been raped as children and all that, and when it never ever happened. So, the other topic that hit our news feed time, was that Martin Shorkey, ex-drug CEO, Scarelli, ex-drug CEO, mocked the Congress by refusing to answer even who his name was. Now, for those that don't remember, this is the person that rose drug prices more than 5,000%. This was at a meeting of asked to testify before Congress, and it wasn't just him. It was complete pharmacy people, and I saw this on the news, and it was just terrible.
And it's just not drugs, prescription drugs. It's drugs that many of my HIV friends that I know use, like Daraprim, and now they can't even afford their medication.
Right. Well, and it was covering the trial itself covered like high blood pressure and everything else. But this one has just been irreverent to any governmental process.
Did they say that they thought that he was a sociopath?
I would guarantee he's a sociopath. I mean, I don't have the psychology to back me up, but
I would pretty much peg him that way myself. I mean, anybody that would take a drug that is used for healing purposes and mark it up 5,000% from what the value market of it was is just out to do a get-rich-quick scheme, and that guy should honestly be very ashamed of himself for doing that.
Well, they took a pill that was like $13 and moved it to $750 a pill.
Exactly.
That's just terrible.
But isn't there something very satisfying about seeing him having to testify and being held and to watch the stock of his company going down? It's like
it's
a real beautiful example of karma. What comes around goes around.
Well, that, and he was arrested for something he'd done in his past company of insider trading. So, we've gotten to see retribution and karma right there.
Exactly.
And, now they're starting to drop back and change all their policies and go back to the original prices and really step up, because the FDA and Congress are looking at everybody and going, what in the world? The drug companies, he wouldn't answer any questions. The other big ones like Viatin, a few others, couldn't even explain their pricing of their drugs.
Well, that and him claiming the Fifth Amendment because of what he says, I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment rights on the advice of my counsel to not self-incriminate myself to any of the questions. That's him pretty much self-incriminating himself right there, because he knows he's done wrong.
It wasn't only just price gouging. It wouldn't his name, his sports team, whether he liked the show last night on TV, what hotel he was staying at. He would answer none of this. So, it's just like, buddy, you've got the hounds on you already.
Well, even after I think it was one of the council members asked him, he did answer the question about, is it pronounced Scarelli? And he said yes.
But then right after that, he
went right back to
the Fifth Amendment.
On the advice of my counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights to not self-incriminate myself. And then there was the question after that, where the council member was like, do you know that you understand that invoking your Fifth Amendment rights is not incriminate yourself, is used for questions of a more serious nature, and that it necessarily wouldn't incriminate you if you answered the questions. And he kept invoking it.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Well, Lynne, tell us about your book, hon, because we just loved it. Because both of us enjoyed reading it. I actually done a review on it. I don't know if you saw it on YouTube. So
I did see it on YouTube, and I wanted to thank you for that. That was really nicely done.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. I actually read it in an afternoon and found a lot of wealth of information to it. Tell us a little bit about it and what it was like writing, your personal story. Because you shared a lot in there that, most people wouldn't.
Right. I really believe in truth, that there is so much power in eliminating secrets and being honest about life. My experiences are not unique, as in no one else has ever had them. About the only difference is that I've had a little more happen than some people, but not more than everyone, because there are people that are, escaping Syria today that have been through the same kind of stuff I've been through, maybe worse.
Well, true. It's very much, a very interesting time right now.
Well, you asked about what was it like to write it, and the hard part was, as I wrote it, I ended up going through more levels of healing, and that would naturally occur for anyone writing autobiography or journaling about those kinds of events, traumatic events, life-threatening events. So there was a level of healing that occurred, and then there was also the worrying about my family and could they live with what I was up to. And I did check with my sister a couple of times, and she was so graceful about it, just totally encouraged me to do what was right for me. So that was a great blessing. As for why I wrote it, I felt like there were multiple reasons. One was that it was like pushing at me as a story that needed to be told, and then it was the healing. There was another level of healing, and I didn't expect that. That just occurred. And then the last reason is I believe, and I think there are some facts to back me up, there are a great number of people in our country with PTSD. That's in addition to the soldiers that have PTSD, but other people too. It's like 8 million Americans. So I thought there's a lot of people who could use some of the tools and ideas and things that I've done that have brought me to the place that I'm at today in my life. And I wanted to share that. If I could encourage someone else or help them take a step forward so they get out of their own suffering, then let's do that.
Right, and I like how you kind of took it step by step with that through your book, and gave the reader each chapter I found had like a little tool or a little step into it that, this is why you do this is where you see this from. What's your true potential reader when you wrote it, or did you even think about your potential reader?
Well, I thought along two lines. One is people who are curious about a spiritual path or have a spiritual path and think that there is solace to be had through our spirituality. So I thought the seeker would be one. The other is people with PTSD, with depression, people who've experienced trauma. Wouldn't they like to read about living hope?
And I would have to agree with you on that, because me having bipolar disorder myself, plus having post-traumatic stress syndrome from being raped and molested as a child, I can understand how that is feeling. And my question to you would be, when it comes to your readers, what would you want them to take away from this book?
As much encouragement as they can get from it. That particularly with depression, it can be so hard when you're down, when all you want to do is sleep or withdraw. If they could get from the book that to do one thing, there's a checklist at the back of the book of ideas of things to try, like get out in nature or do something different than how you've ever done it before, or reach out to someone else or ask for help. To do just one of those things in a day is to be able to say, I made progress today. I had some movement in my life, and I feel a little better. And so for some people, that's all it needs to be. And I think, on the other hand, that I encourage people to be kind and gentle with themselves, because the healing process, particularly for people who've encountered verbal, emotional, physical, spiritual, or sexual abuse, being really kind to ourselves is so important. I think that we've already learned how to be, it's been modeled for us, how to be mean, how to be harsh, how to be rejecting. But the answers for us lie in how to be loving.
Right. You talk about a lot of different traumas in your book. Other than the emotional depression and stuff, how do people hold on to trauma? What's the effects of that?
Well, a couple of things happen. One, with post-traumatic stress disorder, there's a tendency to be triggered and relive it really easily and quickly. So that's one version. But there's another version where maybe even people without PTSD reminisce, where they go over the circumstance, whatever the painful thing was, they go over it again and again and again. Part of it is trying to resolve it and work it out, but it's rather it actually just digs it into the brain and the pathways and the amygdala even deeper, and that's where it has to be healed from. It's also why talk therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy, isn't as powerful for this as some of the somatic therapies are.
Right. You talked about, I like the checklist, but what are your top 3 favorites on that list?
Let me grab my list. Let's see. I bet it's meditate would be number 1. Yes, because meditation for me has been life-changing. I meditate almost daily, 5 minutes if I'm, working and going to school, and 45 minutes if I'm really into spiritual development at that time. Let's see. I think, what else? Seeking people who have what you want, seeking teachers, seeking a greater truth, and nature. Getting out in nature. Nature has a healing energy of its own, maybe because, it's unadulterated God energy, unlike human beings who have all of our thinking on top of our God energy. So, I would say maybe those 3.
So are you, you mentioned meditation. Are you Buddhist, or, where's your spiritual path at, darling?
I studied Buddhism. I became Buddhist at age 17. My family certainly had the ability to turn me away from their religion, and they didn't mean to. They took me to a lot of different Christian churches as a child. But basically what I saw my own family do is say, you should go to church. No, we don't go to church. You should go to church. You should believe in God. And then they would go to the bar and seem to be pretty unhappy. So what did that teach me? But, okay, the church may not have your answer because it didn't work for them. So I went out looking and saying, where are the answers? I did a lot of reading, psychology and things like that as a teenager. And then at 17, I began to study Buddhism, became a Buddhist of a particular sect, and moved into the Buddhist house when I was about 18. And I really immersed myself in it. And probably the biggest gift I got from that was learning about the law of cause and effect, which is what karma is based upon. And that started changing my perspective on why life is the way it is, why bad stuff happens to good people. So it started there. After that, I started studying with some metaphysical teachers, and then I moved into a metaphysical Christian commune in Oregon, And I lived there for several years and really let myself be immersed in that. They were a very unique group because they were metaphysical, so we meditated, and there was channeling and things like that. And then there was charismatic, the introduction of the Holy Spirit into my life. So it was really eclectic and awesome. And from there, I've just kept on a spiritual path, studying Hinduism and Kabbalah from Judaism. I just believe that there's so much goodness in all the different paths, and to take what works for me. So my spiritual path is unique to me. I've taken and experienced a lot from other paths, and that's good. That fed my soul. But I think it's actually kind of harder to go your own way and do your own thing. You don't have as many guides, or you have all kinds of guides, and you have to discern yourself what's right for you. But that's the way I do it.
Being one that I've studied every religion underneath the sun, do you not start seeing the similarities in them?
I do. I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's like, okay, this one colors it purple, this one colors it blue, but it's still a tree.
Right. In fact, most all of them have, rules or guidelines to live by, their own kinds of commandments or the Eightfold Path or, they all have that. They all have their pluses. And we know they have their downside.
Yeah, they have their downsides. They have their valid sides. They have their lessons.
Mm-hmm.
What part of your book would you read to audiences, and why?
I've only done a little of that. At the launch party, I read some of the sections out of the book. I think one of my favorites is the prologue, which really addresses who the book is for. And if we have time tonight and you want me to read that, I will. It's a quarter of a page. You would?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. This is the prologue from Living Hope, Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind. I suspect you are attracted to this book because you've been in pain, emotional pain, and feel burdened by life's events, and yet you want so much more. And part of you believes it is possible. Truth is, it's more than possible. More than likely, you chose this book, these steps, to propel yourself into the life you seek. Happiness comes to those who seek it and allow it. Sharing my journey from suffering, emotionally and physically, to the inner assurance that I am a glorious spiritual being in the self-realization process is meant to strengthen you as you go forward in your own journey. And may you find everything you need for today, here and now.
Love that. One of my favorite quotes, and it's a Reiki quote, is just for today, let me be of service just for today, let me focus on this, just for today, let me help. And I love your prologue to the book. I thought it was so wonderful, so fitting, that sets the reader into the path of really seeking out your book, the tools, and a lot of very heartfelt information and a lot of stories that people can go, I've been there. I've seen that. I've dealt with that. I've been the adult when I should have been a child, and understanding those different positions that you're put into. Now, I hear you've got something else on the writer's desk. You'll have another one coming out this year?
Yes, I would say May. I can't name exactly what month, but it's in the editing process right now, so it's written. It's just bringing it together so it's ready for publishing. It's called The Mystery of My Unfolding Self. And it's not about the trauma and how to get out of trauma. It's just about spiritual growth. And the purpose in it really lies in that, we can study Jesus, we can study Buddha, but they're so different from what we are, or the time period was so different. Or we could study Yogananda, who was more recent. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice to put out something that's really purely American and unique and relevant to today for people to have as one more resource, since going your own way with your spiritual path, which a lot of people do, it's challenging. So it's meant to be a support.
Oh, cool. That sounds lovely. So this one is more like book 2. After we get after your reader gets healed from the past trauma, they're able to move forward and really start searching the soul. I think it's going to be lovely. I love your writing style. It's very down to earth. I didn't have to get a dictionary to look up a word. It drives me crazy when authors do that.
Oh yeah, me too.
But so where can our listeners get your book?
The book is available at Amazon, both in Kindle and as a paperback. It's available at Barnes & Noble, or they can go to, my book has its own website, Lynne Cockrum-Murphy with a hyphen, so it's Lynne Cockrum-Murphy.com. You can also read a free chapter there and get a taste for what it's like and see if you want the book. And there's an excerpt that's available for free when you sign up for the newsletter. Not only do you get the free chapter, but you get that exercise that I put in the book about how to move from being a human doing to a human being, and finding those activities that are the middle ground that might be doing, like Tai Chi, but you can achieve that being state while you do them. So that's available on the website, and it's free too.
And now you offer some classes. One of them is Access Bar. Are they able to access that on the website also?
Well, Access Bars is something that has to be done in person. It's the only healing modality that I do that has to be done in person. So it is, I would liken it to maybe massage or Reiki, where you touch points on a person's head and in a particular order, and it does the healing itself. It's very mystical and powerful. Then I also am a theta healer, and that's using Vianna Stibble's theta healing. I teach the basic, the advanced, and then the manifesting and abundance classes. Those are ones people usually come to my home for. If there's a large enough class, I will travel to the class and teach it in someone else's home also, or at someone's business.
Right.
So that's theta healing, and that's a beautiful technique. I encourage people, you can look at on my website or the Theta Healing website to learn more about it. But it is, it heals physically, emotional. It's really good at identifying our limiting beliefs and getting rid of them. It also has a lot of downloads. It's fabulous. So my personal website is desertjewel.org. And there you'll find out about all the different classes that I teach and the services that I offer, from doing readings to channeling to I'm also a licensed substance abuse counselor. So I use my counseling skills with people because it just makes the communication and the session just be a little gentler and more tuned in to, or another way of tuning into them, because I think with our intuition we tune in pretty well.
Right.
So really, whenever I do a session with someone, it's a combination, and it's what works for them.
Oh, very nice. And, I love that you blend in that counseling background. I blend in a lot of life coaching, but counseling, there's some cases that need a good counseling session more so than a psychic reading.
Yeah, I bet that does come up.
I don't know how many times I refer clients out to counseling just because it's out of my skill set. I love that you include that in your intuitive reading. We've reached to where we need to take a break. Thank you, Lynne, for joining us tonight. let us know when your next book comes out. We'd love to have you back with us. And
thank you.
I so enjoyed your book. That's why I put the YouTube channel, the YouTube review up there. And we have our own YouTube channel, listeners, so you can go over and look at the review, and any shows you've missed, you can go back and listen to them. Lynn, will you give them your Desert Jewel website and the book website again, please, hon, before you go?
I sure will. I will. Thank you. The book is found at, and my new book also will be on it, Lynne Cockrum, and it's Lynne, Lynne, Cockrum, Cockrum Murphy, MURPHY.com, and then the one for the business is desertjewel.org. And I would invite people to be in touch with me. I'm going to be posting more and more of the workshop that I created based on the book. It's called 7 Steps to Leaving Suffering Behind, and that workshop will be available in chunks on.
Oh, really? Will that be online?
On the website. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the website. Right now I'm teaching my second one in person, but I want it to be available for people beyond, the Phoenix area.
Right.
And the very last thing I'd like to say to your listeners is for them to be the shining being that they already are, and to recognize the light that lies within them, to acknowledge it, to enjoy it, and to let it shine. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Those such wise words, hon. But we'll see you later, darling. Thank you so much for coming on.
All righty. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
You'll find us at www.themagichappens.com, your free online magazine.
Are you at a crossroads in your life? Or are you feeling stuck and not sure where to turn? We can help. Visit our website at psychic.biz from your computer, smartphone, or tablet, where you can get accurate readings and insight by speaking with any one of our tested advisors. We offer live chat, video sessions, one-on-one phone calls, and even email readings. We have several gifted psychics, tarot readers, astrologers, and other healers from around the world who are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your initial chat is always free, and our psychics do offer special prices and low per-minute rates. Visit us today at psychic.biz and get the guidance you need today for your tomorrow.
You're listening to the Magic Happens Radio Network, sponsored by the Magic Happens magazine. You'll find us at www.themagichappens.com.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Do you have burning questions you need answered? We all do. Visit our website at psychic.biz, where you can find accurate psychics, tarot readers, and astrologers from around the world who are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can have your questions answered anonymously and right from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. The introductory chat is always free, and we offer low per-minute rates and special promotions. Our online psychics offer helpful, practical guidance into what matters most to you. Visit us today at psychic.biz.
And you'll find us at www.themagichappens.com, your free online magazine.
Well, we will be taking your calls tonight and giving you free mini readings like normal. I'll actually be in the hot seat all night and letting Rose just collect the information for us. Our call-in number is 914-338-1976. And you can join us and we'll take your questions. But as we're waiting for callers to come in, we're going to give you the checklist out of Lynne's book, and I just love some of the tools here because I suggest them very often to clients. Take action today. She just says take action. Make some changes. Read, pray, go within, meditate. Expect miracles. Very often we forget to look for the little miracles in life, so this is a great one. One that I'm always suggesting is journaling. Search the internet. Do something different than you've done before. Create a mission statement. What do you want to come out of this? Utilize resources, people, and tools. Expect synchronicities. Take up a new habit. Talk to people. Make a decision. This is a big one. A lot of times, people have hard times making decisions. Set an intention on what you want. Challenge yourself. Ask for a teacher in spirit to guide you. Hire a coach. Ask to become aware when angels are with you. See a therapist. Attend greatness circles. Surrender. Seek. Create a vision board. This is a very powerful tool that I've done for years. I always, at the first of the year, create a new vision board on what I want. Attend an adult children of alcohol/dysfunctional family meeting. CAC. They have a national website, by the way. You can get it on Google. I can't quote it, but it'll list the towns and areas in your area that has one. Use your awareness. Discard what doesn't work for you. Now, this is kind of hard. People don't get this. They go, well, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is how I do it. I make my coffee this way. I have breakfast at 9. If it ain't working for you and you really don't want to get up till about 10, then don't. Trust yourself. This is probably one of the hardest checks to make on your checklist because we at times do not believe in ourselves, and you have to get into that belief. Take a yoga, Tai Chi, or Qui-Gon class. Get 3 people's input before making challenging direct decisions. 3 people. That's it. Their input. Don't let them make the decision for you. And I do that a lot in reading. So do you. We go, well, here's your options. You've got an option, and they're like, well, which one do I do? Well, you do your option, whichever one you want.
Which I list out the options for them when I do my readings.
Right.
And they'll ask me, what do you think will be best? I'm like, I could give you the options, honey, but you're going to have to go within and figure out what works best for you, because ultimately that is what any kind of healing, spiritual connection, or counseling is about, is finding what works best for you.
My most powerful chapter in her book, and I read all through it, was chapter 2, The Law of Cause and Effect. You do A, which reverts to B. People forget that so often.
And they forget that everything in the universe is connected by a thin thread.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could be nice to one person and totally discredit another, and that's not going to balance out.
Right, because the disrespect or discreditment, he puts it so eloquently, sometimes affects other things. And, with that, it's often very traumatizing, that effect to realize, especially when you're in trauma.
Exactly.
One of your choices led to this action, and you're now getting that reverb back. I used to have on my desk when I worked in corporate America the little silver ball things where you pick one up and it bounces and it hits all 7, and then you just keep tic-tacking back and forth. It was a way for me to keep time and keep my mind active. But that really is the cause and effect. One thing hits another that hits another that hits another that hits another that hits back at you, and it just reverbs back. So a lot of times people forget about cause and effect, and especially when they're making their decisions on what their impact is.
Exactly, and that's much like the proverbial story of the stone in the pond, where you cast the stone into a pond and the ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
But what people fail to realize about that story is we are the stone.
We are not the ripple.
We are not the ripple.
That's hard to, really picture and imagine. Because a lot of people feel like in life that they are the ripple, and that, this person done something, so it's causing this to occur. When it's really, no, you could have done this.
You done this.
It caused this. That's causing this to occur. That's the harder side of things, and people don't like taking that look at things. And you get that a lot, because even though you're very elegant in your readings, I love hearing you read. You tend to be very much, well, you done it. You're the one that chose to date him, hon. Don't look at me to fix it. And I've heard you tell people that. Well, you're the one dating him. Ain't my fault.
Well, I'm just pointing out what they've done to make them look at that action. Because if you're going to want balance in your life, you're going to have to be able to look at your actions, take responsibility for those actions, and hopefully put what you've learned from doing the action and the knowledge you've gained since then to find a balance, and peaceful place.
Very much so. Well, Miss Kathy's on the line. You want to talk to Miss Kathy?
I'd love to talk to Miss Kathy.
Hello, Miss Kathy.
Hi, guys.
Hi, hon. How are you? I'm doing well.
That was an awesome author. She really was. She had so many fine points, so many things that will help a lot of people if they get her book and read it.
Yeah,
and realize that
fabulous, fabulous, fabulous.
It's wonderful. I love it. I don't have, going through it, I didn't have to go look up any terminology. And it's written with heart.
It is. You could definitely feel the heart and spirit that she put behind the book and everything. And a lot of it really resonated with me from what I went through.
Right. And I think I'm going to recommend this book to you, Kathy, because it's a really good book.
I knew you would. And you want me to be honest, normally, how about I just say this? You know that I have been numerous times diagnosed with PTSD. You know the reasons why. I'm not going to say them on the air.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I went to counseling for a long time. You know that. I had a therapist. I had to have a therapist.
Right.
It's when I started talking to you, Asen, that you started giving me lifelines, positive. You gave me my world back, okay? You didn't give it to me. You gave me the tools to get it back.
Exactly, because, I didn't give you your world back. And I hear clients say all the time, oh, you've helped me so much. I didn't do nothing except tell you to turn left. Or remember you've got diamond in your back pocket. I ain't done nothing except sit here. Stop blaming me for the good stuff or the bad stuff.
Well, there's a thing that goes with that I learned at my job, my one job that I tried to start last year that didn't work out, that they used to say all the time.
Spirit needed your butt back on the line.
We could give you the tools, but we can't give you the will.
Exactly.
If you don't, you have to find a way within yourself to be able to use those tools to be able to fix the situation you're in and to be able to let go of the pain, the hurt, the depression, and all that.
And the social anxiety.
That too.
Yeah, that's a big, hard one to get over.
What you've gone through, Rose, what I've gone through, and I know stuff that Asen has gone through, even though he never tells me, I just know, probably due to my gift. And the thing is, you guys are very positive, right? And I am pretty much positive, but my depression does come back. Once you've had PTSD, once you've gone through major traumatic events, people need to know, no matter how positive your life gets, when something comes from left field, yeah, you can handle it. If 2 or 3 things come from left field, that depression, that the flight or fight will come back. And you're going to go through a depression again for a couple weeks. And then you find out who your true friends are, because as Asen knows, I lost most of my friends because they put a time limit on my grief. They put a time limit on how long I could have nightmares. I'll only tell this one part, Asen. I had a JLG fall on me at work, and it almost crushed me. That's the only part I'll tell, okay?
Okay.
I had nightmares for a long time. People did not understand more than like 4 or 5 months. So you do find out who your true friends are. And the thing is, when you reach out to a psychic, they will give you tools. They will tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. But you have to own your own responsibility for the way you are in your actions and the way you react or behave every day. And the one thing I do, I get really depressed, I will give Asen a crap. And he will make me laugh. He first he's turn with me, and then he makes me laugh.
Right.
And
I do that a lot.
Sure.
Because here's the thing, my grandmother used to say, anything can be swallowed with a spoonful of sugar, even if it is the hardest pill you ever have to take. And, with any client, I'm going to refer you back to the same tools. You come at me with, the car broke down, the boss went mad, the house blew up, and I'm going to look and go, did you take your 5-minute walk today? Have you done your journaling yet? No? All right, then. I'm moving your appointment at 8 o'clock. Once you get that done, come back and talk to me.
And I've heard them say that to people, too. But you brought up a good point, Kathy. Even when you use the tools and you're working through a trauma or something that's affected you, even though you've worked through it, you're not going to forget about it because it's always going to be there. And like with PTSD, if something's, you never know what, life is unpredictable, as everybody knows.
You're never cured.
In the middle. And
you're never cured completely.
You're never cured completely, but there's always going to be something that comes along that can trigger a certain emotion or trigger an event, and even in some cases, trigger flashbacks of that event. And that's when you got to utilize those tools. You got to recognize those triggers and put those tools into use.
Right.
Like when I start feeling depressed, I started doing my affirmations. Like the one I posted on my Facebook today, I am a positive and bright being. I can overcome anything. And that's something I found when I'm stressed out or starting to feel depressed or whatnot, that really helps me because it helps me see the soul qualities within myself.
Very much.
You know what I do? After Asen gets a hold of me, or I get a hold of him, and then he gives me what for, makes me behave, and tells me I need to do certain tools. The thing is, I think about the fact that no matter, like Lynn had said, like you've said, Asen, like Rose, and I know, Rose, you've said this, no matter how bad things might seem for you today, they're probably 1,000,000 times worse for someone else. So, and I just, that's what I go to every time. And, it's like my middle son had to have open heart surgery. He had 2 to 3 months to live at 1 year old. And there's this lady, her son was going through tonsillitis surgery. And she goes, oh, it's nothing compared to what you're going through. And I said, you want to bet? Your child is going to be put under. He's not going to be in your sight. You have no control over it. Don't belittle what you're going through. It's
right.
big.
Right.
You know. But you have to remember, don't trivialize other people's stuff. Help lift them up. Help give them the tools.
And help them, and I find often I have to remind people of their value. It's like they want to put themselves on freaking clearance sale or something.
Exactly, and it's one thing for somebody else to sell you short, but you do it to yourself. That's just a lack of confidence and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that is not healthy in the least bit, because it can lead to all kinds of disorders. It can lead to eventually you cause your own self-trauma.
Well, it leads to coping mechanisms. Everybody has coping mechanisms, and you got to understand, sometimes those coping mechanisms is to go to work and work 80 hours. Sometimes those are to empty a bottle of gin. Sometimes it's just to argue with anybody and everybody just to get that attention.
Or sometimes it's go to the refrigerator and find something that's going to comfort you to eat.
Yeah. You know, and it's reprogramming those coping mechanisms that's the hardest. You know, instead of emptying the refrigerator and the bottle of gin, go for a walk and write 2 pages of your journal.
Well, I said in your case, you just grab the entire coffee pot and suck it down.
That's not my coping. That's my adaptation. That's not my coping mechanism. My coping mechanism is not stress, but to get in the car and turn the radio to 48, which is the level of volume. It's the highest one I can get in a car and drive until either I run out of gas or I get tired and I can come home.
Yep, he does that. And my
I'm really lucky. Go ahead.
My coping mechanism was with food. And between my dietitian, Asen, and reading Ann's book, that's gotten me to where I'm back to exercising. Or reading Lynne Cockrum-Murphy's book, and that got me back into seeing my self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I started going back into exercising.
Which is really good.
So instead of sabotaging yourself, you're looking for emotionally, mentally, and physically healthy ways to take care of the hurt, the pain, or the trauma that you've gone through. You found healthy ways.
Right. So, Kathy, did you see that post I done over on Facebook today about the sale that they're having over at psychic.biz?
I didn't. I was busy with looking at your other post.
Oh,
and
that's all right.
I was trying.
A lot of posting today, and Psychic.biz has done a lot of posting today, so that's totally understandable. Guess what they're doing for Valentine's Day?
What? I just know Psychic.biz is awesome, and the psychics there are so powerful, so honest.
And so well trained.
That's the only place I go now. That's the only place.
Well, they're giving 20% off up until the day after Valentine's. They are. I know. Well,
I'm
guys,
we're bugging you there.
Well, that's fine, honey. I'll be there in a little bit, and so will Rose. He's over there too.
Yep, at 99 cents a minute until after Valentine's Day.
Awesome. Yep, and I'm staying at $125 a minute.
So great.
Well, thanks for calling.
I'm going to say this because you got to let me go. I love you guys. PsychicBiz.com. Awesome. Bye.
Awesome. Bye, darlings.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that's the end of the show. If you need to reach us, you can reach us over at psychic.biz. I'm Asen Knight.
And I'm Rose Knight.
Good night, y'all. Good night, Rose.
Good night.